Hello, is this Joe?
Yes.
Joe, this is Dustin Wilmus from KMSU. How you doing?
Hi, Dustin. How are you? I'm good.
I am good also. I'm here with a few people. My co-host Tun is here,
Hey, how you doing?
and Ashley is here as well.
Hello.
Hi, Ashley. Hi.
Well, thanks for taking the time out to talk with us today.
Oh, no problem.
We have a few questions we'd like to ask you.
Oh, okay.
All right, well, we'll get started here and ask you how you got started playing music.
Well, I grew up in a family that had a lot of music around them, I guess. I don't know. There was a piano in our house, so I started on that. And my dad was an accordion player, and he bought me a little version. So I played that as well, like a junior, so I could play with him. And then when I discovered Bob Dylan, I wanted a guitar. And I got one for my birthday, and I started playing guitar at age 15. That's pretty much how I started in music.
A little accordion. That's got to be so cute.
Yeah, I don't have it anymore. I wish I still did, but it was cute for kids.
Didn't you get an accordion for your birthday?
Me?
Dustin,
Yeah, I
yeah.
did. I'm going down the same path, hopefully. So did you start the Dead Milkmen then shortly after you started playing guitar, or what was the story behind that?
It was, I'd say, probably about a year after I started playing guitar, after I learned a few chords and could crank out some songs. I started Dead Milkmen, not really intending to start a real band called that, but I was doing it for fun and like a home recording project, more or less. My neighbor and I, where I grew up, my neighbor was one of my best friends. We made comedy skits that we recorded on audio cassette, and that sort of evolved. The comedy skits incorporated eventually Dead Milkmen. Like they became, it just was in my mind, a natural progression from that.
I had heard that the Dead Milkmen started out as an imaginary band.
Yeah, that's what I often say, because it was in my imagination as an imaginary band. But the reason I say that is because I made these cassettes out of recordings I did with my neighbor and also by myself. I would make recordings on one cassette, and then I had this little reel-to-reel tape too that I borrowed from him. And whilst playing back the recording, would record an overdub onto the other tape recorder, and it was a crude way of being able to play more than one instrument and sing and stuff. And then the final product would be a song that I'd call a Dead Milkman song. And then sometimes I'd have help from friends. I wouldn't be completely by myself with recording them, but I'd compile these into albums. I call them fictitious albums, but the imaginary part stems from creating a backstory to it and making the band, at least on paper, be popular, and I made a newsletter for them and a fan club and stuff like that. In fact, the backstory came about before any real music came about.
Oh, wow.
And the name of the band came about from a game that we used to play in our neighborhood, sort of a role-playing game whereby it used a deck of cards, a board that I constructed that you'd put and player pieces that would go around the board, and dice. And it had rules that are all written out. But the idea of the game was that you would be a manager of a group or an artist or something, and you would try to launch their career by getting them a hit record. So the people, the players of the game would pick their artists' names and the names of the songs and things like that, and the board and the dice and the cards and the things determined your success or your failure. And I also used Monopoly money. So we played this game. I don't know. The fault of the game is that it didn't have an ending, but it was sort of fun for, I don't know, a week or so during the summer with the people that were with us, and that. In that game is where I came up with the name The Dead Milkmen.
Do you guys still play that game to try to gauge?
No, I don't even know where the rules are anymore. They probably got thrown away when I went off to college. But that's the sort of thing we do before the internet existed, I guess.
Yeah.
Although now I guess you can make your own game and have it be played worldwide on the internet.
Well, you might want to check your patents on that. You could maybe make another one. Well, after you guys formed the group and kind of moved out of the imaginary realm and into actually playing and stuff, what was it like in those early days?
It was fun. It was let's see, what was it like in the early days?
I mean, just like playing those early shows or touring around and writing and stuff like that when you first started out.
Well, everything seemed to happen fast and furious, but I think that's the way it is when you're young and in time. Compared to these days, it seems like everything takes a lot longer to get done, and everything happened so quickly back then. I think that's par for the course. We had a lot of adventure, a lot of hard to believe that we actually persevered through some things. Vans breaking down and having no money and, not giving up. But mostly it was fun, from what I remember. Otherwise we would have probably not pursued it.
So what was it like when you first started gaining commercial success? Like, do you really remember a major difference, or was that something that just kind of came along and you didn't even realize you were all of a sudden kind of popular? Or
well, it was a blessing. I guess if we didn't get the success we did, we got it in dribs and drabs, and so it was gradual. But I imagine we would have split up had we not had any success for financial reasons. But for example, on our first ever tour, the one that took us across the country, it was pretty miserable for the first half of the tour when we went from Philadelphia to California. It was miserable in terms of, poor show turnouts. We had some successes here and there. We opened up for the Circle Jerks in Chicago, and that was great. But we had a lot of canceled shows, and since we didn't have cell phones back then, we really didn't find out about them until we got to the venue and learned that it was closed down or the show was never confirmed or whatever. We were learning the ropes. A lot of disappointments, but we had a 2-week stay in California, and sometime during that stay, the song Bitchin' Camaro started getting college radio play, and by the time we made our way back to the East Coast, it was a top 10 college radio song, which came as somewhat of a surprise, but happy. We were happy about that, and that afforded us, made it easier for us to get shows and to pay off our bills, because we incurred a huge amount of debt on that first tour with credit cards and such, just to put gas in the van and to keep going and to eat. We were making zero money at most places.
Yeah.
So, I mean, without that success, I guess we probably wouldn't even made a second album.
Well, you guys were releasing albums pretty regularly there for, was like one a year or so, and touring pretty extensively, though, after that, right?
Yeah, and that part of the reason is that we had to, since we had given up our jobs, and we needed to pay our rent, and that was our way of doing it.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that's what we wanted to do, too, so.
Who would you say were some of your influences as far as your songwriting and kind of the themes of your songs and things like that?
There's Ramones, I think, were an early influence, and the Sex Pistols and all the punk stuff that I liked in high school and college, and Husker Du, the indie rock stuff, Replacements. One of my earliest influences I discovered when I was in 8th grade was Bob Dylan and his music, and also the Beatles I loved, because those are the songs I learned to play on guitar, and that's how I learned to play guitar, by learning their songs. Dean had his influence too. He liked XTC, and I'm not really sure all the different influences people had, but
yeah.
Dave also liked the Beatles growing up. We connected on that score. I know we were half of us liked the Beatles and half of us hated the Beatles. I think that kept us grounded.
We have that same problem on the 5 count.
They're a very divisive band.
What happened with the Dead Milkmen? Did you guys disband, or was there some kind of breakup, or?
On paper, we never disbanded. But we decided in 1994 that we would put out one last album, but we wouldn't tour on it, and that would be it. We would play no more shows. And the decision to do that was made because it was running us down. The whole album every year, tour every year was too much for us to keep doing. At the same time, Dean wanted to raise a family. He was married. Rodney was getting married too. I guess you could call it a quote-unquote lifestyle change desired by 50% of the band. And we agreed that we would not play any more shows. So that was the 1994. Then our last album came out a year later. That was it. We actually got back together in somewhat unfortunate circumstances. Dave took his own life in 2004, a month after his mother died. He was very close to his mother. He hadn't played bass in years at that point. We'd gotten together as a band a year before that, and we all saw him at his mother's funeral a month before that. It was very sad and shocking. That was in March of 2004, and then we were approached by Dave's brother Kurt to play a memorial show with some other local Philadelphia bands. And for that, we asked Daniel Stevens, who was the bass player in the band I was in called the Low Budgets, to play bass for us. So we got together, I guess Dead Milkmen version 2, to play that show in Philadelphia, which we did in November of 2004. And again, we all assumed that was a one-off thing, but 4 years later, we were approached by the organizer of the Fun Fest in Austin, Texas, to regroup yet again and play their festival. And we obviously said yes after a little bit of negotiation, and got Daniel Stevens once again to play bass for us. And we enjoyed the process of rehearsing for that and playing the show so much that afterwards we agreed to meet on New Year's Day 2009 and make plans for further shows and the idea of writing songs for a new album as our Dead Milkmen version 2.
So you guys are officially back together then now?
Yeah, we're officially back together as Dead Milkmen.
You're working on a new album too, is that right?
We are, actually, and we hope to have it finished if all goes well. We're in the mixing stages.
And then after that, are you guys planning an extensive tour, or what do you have in store?
No, that's one of the things we're not going to do, is an extensive tour.
Okay.
Is there any way we can talk you into coming to Minnesota?
Yeah.
There you go.
I mean...
I'm serious.
You can send an email to booking@deadmilkmen.com with an offer, or
like every day.
See what happens. Huh?
Like
every day, send an email. Pester us.
I will now. You set up the invite too, so I'm gonna now. No, that would just be so awesome to see you guys live. I talk to Dustin about that all the time, how all I want in life is just to see the Dead Milkmen. That would just be so awesome.
Well, there, if you just
what we do is we have lots of offers, but we play we'll probably play 6 shows outside of our local area, maybe this year, and where they are depends largely upon how much interest is coming in to our inbox.
Well, maybe we will look into that and get back to you.
Okay.
We'll see if we can meet the guarantees and stuff, and
right.
Do the behind the scenes work.
We could do behind the scenes, like we could be road crew and
Ashley will pay for
or
it.
Something. I'll find a way to pay for it.
She's gonna take out a loan.
If I could get one, I would do it.
There's a lot of interest from Chicago. I know that's not.
We could probably drive to Chicago.
In the area. Huh? Can you top Chicago?
We'll try.
I'm sure you can.
We have a rich general manager, so we'll talk to him or steal his wallet. Well, cool, man. Do you have any parting words for us before we let you go?
Oh, no, but thanks. Thanks for the interest.
Oh, no, thank you. We appreciate you taking the time out here to talk with us.
And we just appreciate you in general.
Oh, thanks. That's good to know.
She's beaming.
I am. I've been sitting this whole time with like my hand over my mouth being all giddy.
All right, man. Well, thanks a lot.
All right, Dustin, thank you.
We'll be looking out for that album coming out soon.
Okay, yeah, watch out for it.
All right,
It's called, I think the tentative title is The King in Yellow.
Okay. All right, man. Well, thanks a lot.
Okay.
All right. Have a good one.
Thank you.